5-color Bring the Light. Hey, we haven't seen this deck in a really long time, outside of Jerry. A little surprised, actually, to see Joe playing this deck. This deck doesn't even really get much press as far as decks people even talk about anymore.
Yep.
But that's what Lossett is on here. So he's going to be playing against an aggressive deck. And aggressive decks, I think, is what kind of trip this deck up a little bit. And Steve Lynn's deck is very aggressive. He's got Bloodsoaked Champion, Zergo Bellstrikers, Flamewake Phoenix, Thunderbreak Region, Hangerback Walkers, Drana, Liberator of Malkir. Just a couple of removal spells here in a Roast and Murderous Cut, but also, worth noting, Patrick, 4 main deck copies of Self-Inflicted Wound.
Wow. Yep. I think this is, I believe this is very close, if not identical, to Tomohiro Saito's list.
Okay. No 1-drop, unfortunately, for Steve. For Joe, he's got a Jace of Vryn's Prodigy. Steve will sacrifice that Polluted Delta. We'll see what land he wants to search up. I'm just a little disappointed no Forerunner Slaughter running around in here.
I have run into some lists online with that card. It's not common, but I'm getting that card cast against me a little bit.
Yeah? I think going through the Gatewatch, going to bring in those other missing Devoid cards.
Possibly.
Turn that deck on, hopefully. Steve Lynn will draw. Picked up a copy of Rose. That's a timely answer to Jace. Don't want to let that thing hang around too long. Could play a Hangerback Walker instead. That's what he's going to do.
Slightly more mana efficient this way from Lynn's side, as next turn he can activate the Hangerback Walker and cast Roast. And you can allow your opponent 1 loot. Not the end of the world here. It's not like Jace is flipping.
And Joe will draw and discard here. Lossett number 5 on our Season 4 leaderboard. Very close to solidifying his spot to the Players' Championship. He's wanted to go back so badly. He said he had a lot of fun last year, one of his favorite tournaments that he's ever played in. And even though he does live in California, a place where the Open Series doesn't go a ton, when he does get to play, he does quite a bit of winning. Lynn will draw. And there is Smoldering Marsh, 2 basics. Means that thing's going to enter the battlefield untapped. We might have a Flamewake Phoenix here. Perhaps we go to Roast territory. Looks like that's where Steve's going to go. Try to get this Jace off the battlefield. That'll take care of that. And now I think we might see Hangerback Walker just, hang steady.
Yeah. I would probably pump in Lossett's upkeep there, because you're going to do it at the end of the turn anyway. And if you're going to make him do something, you might as well make him doing on the upkeep when he's working with less information.
Yeah, here's a complete disregard. Well, that'll take care of Hangerback Walker very cleanly by exiling it. So now we're going to go back to Steve Lynn. He'll draw. Don't get a great look at it. It looks like it may have been a Bloodsoaked Champion. Here's 4 mana, perhaps a Thunderbreak Regent, maybe 2 spells. It'll be the Dragon. And now we go over to Joe Lossett. Lossett going to take a draw step here, and now we'll see what his 5th turn does bring. Thunderbreak Region, not a card we've seen much of.
It's starting, at least this is anecdotal evidence, I'm starting to see this card a lot more online.
Okay. Any specific deck?
Red-black, most commonly, some builds of red-green, Mardu.
Well, here's Flamewake Phoenix. Going to the skies is what Steve Lynn's trying to do here. Well, second, I take a long look at his hand. He does have a copy of Utter End there, which is a pretty clean answer for either one of these threats, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he could maybe afford to take the hit here, but he has Languish in hand, but he does not have double black currently.
Utter End's going to take care of the Thunderbreak Region for good. You'll get the trigger, of course. Means Joe's going to take 3 from that, and then 2 from the Phoenix. I think after combat, we'll see Lynn maybe drop a Bloodsoaked Champion and then pass that turn back. That's exactly what we'll see. To Joe we go. Looks like Dispel the draw. And he'll play a Morph and simply pass the turn back. Back over to Steve Lynn. He'll draw a card. Remember, 4 main deck copies of Self-Inflicted Wound. He has 1 in his hand right now. He'll attack with both creatures. Look, if Bloodsoaked Champion is in a tier 1 deck, I'm hanging up this headset.
Okay.
I'm all done. I'm out of here.
I'm really rooting for it because I bought really high on these things. I like to get a couple of those dollars back.
I think this card is sweet. Aggressively costed. Creature types are good in human and warrior.
And this card is so much more powerful than Zurgo. Zurgo just happens to be in more decks because red's a better beatdown color than black.
Yeah.
But it's not that this card's bad.
Here comes the attack from Joe. 4 mana. It's a Rhino. I'll do a nice job of checking the old Bloodsoaked champion. And now we go back Steve Lynn's way. He'll sacrifice this Wooded Foothills and dig a land out of his deck.
So now that self-inflicted wound is ready and able to do some work here. And Lynn's drawing to some pretty big spells here. Kolagon, another Thunderbreak Regent, some big draws.
Well, Lynn will be going to his way. Take a draw step. As you mentioned, at the very worst, it's self-inflicted wound. Looks like it's going to be a little bit better than that.
Yeah, Drana is a nice way to fill out the rest of the mana here.
Yeah, and this is main deck. Yep. I think Joe just said main deck, and Steve said, oh yeah. You better believe it,
We've
baby.
seen that and Search of Righteousness so far this weekend in the main decks.
There's an attack for 4. And now here's Drana. These black decks, they need just like one more card maybe to push them over the hump.
Drana's no joke.
Absolutely.
This is another really good one here. I think Lossett is supposed to be lower than this. 2 off the self-inflicted wound, 4 from combat.
Yeah,
there we
looks
go.
like he's going to fall down to 7. See Sam Pardee walking with the match slip here. His match was over pretty quick. You see how much time's left in this round. He's playing that red-green landfall deck.
Yeah, we had a deck tech with him earlier being filmed.
That's going to be coming at the conclusion of round number 6, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Lossett trying to figure out what he wants to do now.
The last card in Lynn's hand, I believe, is another copy of Self-Inflicted Wound. A pretty reasonable way to use the mana this turn would be to get back the complete disregard. The panic button move here is Lossett simply getting a black source of mana, casting Languish, losing his Den Protector, but assuming that his leftovers are better than Lynn's leftovers.
Well, that's the hope.
Yeah.
Joe in a tough spot here, though. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you do follow Joe Lossett in his stream, he's been playing 5-color Bring to Life for a little while now. A lot of different builds of the deck. Try a lot of different stuff there.
The problem right now for Joe and why I think he might have to pull the trigger on Languish this turn is his Den Protector isn't worth very much other than a way to get something out of his graveyard. The Bloodsoaked Champion's not great to block. The rest of the team is in the air. So it's not like Den Protector's a 2-for-1 here like it typically is. I think I like the safer play here of Lossett just resetting the board. Lossett's got, I believe, Bring to Light, Crackling Doom, and another spell as his leftovers. Lynn's down to 1 card in hand. You got to feel like you're favored there when you get to that spot if you're Joe.
The only card I like in Joe's graveyard that I would want to rebuy is Complete Disregard.
Yeah.
Because that exiles either the Flamewave Phoenix or the Bloodsoaked Champion. Outside of that, I don't really love anything. So I like clearing things up. Going to 6 kind of stinks, but you know, this is also a format here with no Stoke to Flames, no stuff like that. So getting burnt out is pretty unlikely.
Yeah. Joe has to take a hit next turn if he gets back the Complete Disregard, and that probably just forces his action on the Languish anyway, so you might as well just get it out of the way first.
Unfortunately for Joe, Steve looks like he drew a copy of Roast to go on Self-Inflicted Wounds. All I can do is say, go.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Joe needed to happen. So he'll draw a card now. And now we might see Bring to Light be cast.
Bring to Light for a Rhino is pretty common in these kind of positions.
Yep. There's a Sunken Hollow. All 5 colors online right now. He's tapping 5 mana. It is time to cast Bring to Light. So we'll see what he searches up. He's going to go with the Rhino, as you said. Pretty common here to see this be the case. Little trigger. Actually, oddly enough, take a look at Steve's life total.
Yeah, he's definitely taking his hits too, for sure.
Didn't realize he was that low. There's another one of those copies of self-inflicted wound. Interesting when a format gets this way where a player is actually able to play 4 copies of that card, and it actually makes sense.
And it's a function of just how many of the threats are gold.
Yeah.
It's not like there's that many green and white decks out there. It's just like there's just enough Mantis Riders and Siege Rhinos and weird creatures that just overlap with green and white somehow, where most decks are going to present a target.
Drana's the follow-up here for Lynn, so now he's got another creature back out on the battlefield, though, as you mentioned, Joe does have a Crackling Doom in hand, so he does have an answer. Also has Dispel and then a Flooded Strand.
No, Joe not necessarily getting the better of, is the top of my deck better than yours? He's probably going to have to use the Crackling Doom here. And then it's a Dispel versus a Roast.
One thing's for sure, you can't let him attack, because then Rage triggers for Bloodstone Champion, so you got to kill it. So Lynn's going to fall down to 6. Lynn's draw was a Bloodstained Mire, so he'll just play that and pass the turn back over to Lossett. Lossett will draw. Lumbering Falls, which is...
That counts as a good one here.
That'll work, actually. Now, the difference between 6 and 5, not a ton right now, because Lumbering Falls attacks for 3. Bloodstone Champion to draw. Steve has found a creature that cannot block. He'll play that and pass the turn back. Lossett will untap. He'll take a draw step here.
We got Slumgar's Command.
I believe so. A fun of.
Yep, one in there.
It's a really good card with Bring the Light in your deck. That's for sure.
Find a draw and a good one to be able to go get.
Don't want to play too many.
Right.
5-mana spell. I don't think it's going to change Joe's play this turn. I think Joe's play is probably just dial up the Lumbering Falls and we'll try to get you dead.
Yep.
I think that's the best way to go. Steve's going to fall down to 3. Let's make it 2 now.
Still some big draws here for Lynn. Kolagon being the biggest. And Thunderbreak region's still very good.
This is true. Kolagon being a game winner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's got 2 of those in his deck. Flamewake Phoenix can do a little bit of blocking, stuff like that. I guess Slumgar's Scorn may. Well, if it's Slumgar's command, well, he can't fire up the Lumbering Falls as well. So yeah, so there are some draws that buy Steve Lynn some time. So we're going to see him untap here. He's at 2. There are some big draws. Zergo is the draw.
Another member of the Can't Block Parade.
Yes. This will be well, that one's definitely attacking. Yeah. I can promise that one's coming in. And now Raid has been fulfilled, so the other Bloodstone Champion will come back. And now here is Zergo. But if you're Joe, you can deduce pretty easily here that Steve doesn't have anything left.
Yeah.
He's been holding on to 1 card for a while. When I attacked with my Lumbering Falls previously, he didn't do anything. So I'm pretty sure if I'm Joe, I'm clear for takeoff. Yeah, fire it up. Yeah, that's going to do it. Joe Lossett's going to win game number 1 here over Steve Lynn. 5-color Bring to Light. Up a game over Black-Red Aggro.
Pretty stressful game there for Lossett, but able to stabilize after the Languish. Deck is a little bit more powerful, card to card, and Lumbering Falls is able to seal off the game.
Well, we take a look at the sideboards now. We're going to start with Steve Lynn, and he's got this Black-Red deck with a very straightforward sideboard. You got to love this. 4 Radiant Flames, 4 Foul Tongue Invocation, 4 Duress, 3 Outpost Siege.
Don't see this very much anymore.
No.
I think that the Foul Tongue Invocation, the Outpost Siege, and the Duress are all fine cards. I don't know how much removal he really wants to have at the end of the day. You could probably cut the 4 Roasts, and After that, self-inflicted wounds good in this matchup, and so is murderous cut. So I don't know if he's going to want to bring in all that removal. I would prioritize, I think, Outpost Siege the highest of any of these cards.
For Joe Lossett, 2 Infinite Obliteration and Offense of the Foremost, 2 Negates, 3 Painful Truths, 4 Surge of Righteousness, and 3 Radiant Flames.
I think Surge of Righteousness and Radiant Flames are very easy cards to bring in this matchup. I would not bring in the Negates. Anafenza seems pretty easy for the 4 main deck roast, 4 main deck self-inflicted wound to kill, so probably just keep it at the Surge of Righteousness and Radiant Flames.
When I've seen roast and self-inflicted wound, my Anafenza is staying in the board.
It's got to keep it at home.
Yeah.
Cannot cast it.
Every time that gets played, it's just going to die. So I'm gonna have that hide out a little bit. Those are the options there for both players. We'll have Steve Lynn on the play here for game number 2, but we're going to talk about the Season 1 schedule for the SCG Tour, and it's going to start with the Las Vegas Invitational weekend because, of course, we've got 2 opens there.
Yes. Then we go to Cincinnati for Modern, Charlotte, which will also be Modern, and an open in Atlanta that's Standard. That's the weekend after release, so that'll be the debut of New Standard.
Yep.
Then we have a Standard Open in Columbus, Regional Championships, February 6th, which will be Modern. We've already posted some information about that, playmats and prizes and so forth. Louisville will have a Modern Open Series event, Legacy in Philadelphia. After that, we go to Indianapolis, which will be Standard in Baltimore, April 9th and 10th. And then the Season 1 Invitational, Standard and Modern as the invitational formats, April 15th through 17th, Columbus, Ohio.
One of our favorite stops.
Love it.
Always going to C-Town. Got to take a trip to Ohio, of course, but the information you guys can find more about that at StarCityGames.com. And of course, we still do playmats for these things. You come, you sign up, you get a playmat. That means you get kitchen links.
One of my least favorite Magic cards turned into one of my favorite playmats. Free limited edition playmat with any entry into one of the Season 1 Open Series main events.
Is there a card? There's a better picture. I actually like the cat in the background that's got some glasses going on here, and a little something hanging out in the mouth. And then this other cat's just giving the beatdowns to the milk jug. Which,
yeah, they're going through the dirty dishes right now.
Yeah, completely understandable.
As cats do.
Well, you would know.
I do.
You would know. So, is there a card responsible for more losses in your career than Kitchen Finks?
Whew, that's got to be near the top list.
Yeah.
Might be number 1. I'd have to think about it some. If we're talking about raw games, that might be the one. If we're talking about win rate, show and tell has been pretty tough on a lot of the strategies that I play.
Yeah, I know I guess what's the most anti-red card?
Oh, definitely Dark Ritual.
Sure.
Definitely Dark Ritual.
Sure.
But if we're talking about low power formats, yeah. I played in a Grand Prix once where my opponent went turn 1 Noble Hierarch, I went turn 1 Tattermunch Maniac. He went turn 2 Kitchen Finks, I drew and conceded. Because I didn't want to get, what I was worried about was the moment where I attack with the Tattermunch Maniac, and my opponent has to sit there and think, do I just want to eat this up and get my Finks back and gain 2 and still have a thing left over? Or is this Tattermunch Maniac so crappy that I could just let it through? And I didn't want to sit through the 30 seconds of my opponent deciding, what awesome play to make, basically. Either one's fine. Just packed it up.
You're dead.
I was dead.
You took a look at your hand and you say, you know what? That's it.
Can't win.
And that's okay. You can't win every game.
Yeah.
That's why they give you 3.
Yeah. I did get game 2 in that match, but game 3 went in a similar fashion.
My opponent played a Kitchen Fix, so that was it.
That was it. My Modern deck, you've been playing,
I played
local
2.
turns.
Oh, yeah.
Modern Super League Online. Worst card for that deck, Kitchen Finks, by a mile.
By a lot.
By a lot.
Very dead to that card.
I've beaten a Resolved Primeval Titan more frequently than a Resolved Kitchen Finks. It's not a joke.
That's impressive. Kitchen Finks is, you would think, you've been playing Magic for a while, maybe Bottle Gnomes has haunted your nightmares.
Yeah, that card's just kind of mopey, though.
Yeah.
I played against Bottle Gnomes, and, you have a bolt, and it's a little bit bad for you, but, you beat a Ration Cleric, too.
Yeah.
What's Bottle Gnomes at the end of the day, They need other stuff going on for it to be really bad.
Oh,
Kitchen Finks, though, that's it. That's all they need. That's it. That and, 1 removal spell, or even just a Gavany Township and mana. That's enough.
There's no coming back.
You're just done. You're just done. So this card's near the top of the list, but I still like the playmat. Playmat's adorable.
Playmat's great. Playmat's fantastic.
Cats making a mess of things is a really easy way for me to giggle and be like, I relate with that. I know what that's about.
It's just an accurate representation of things. That's all. Like, if I were to leave out a jug of milk, would a cat grab it like that and go to town? Probably.
Levi's probably knocking over the jug of Maker's Mark on top of the fridge right now. So I can relate to that.
Not milk exactly, but you know, each cat does their own thing.
Right, yeah.
Each cat just kind of does their own thing.
Right.
Joe, gonna play a Jace Vin's Prodigy. It sounds like we're now in talks with Maker's Mark about sponsorship of the Open Series.
Dude, hit me up.
Yep.
We can negotiate that Open Series event in Louisville this year, going to Kentucky for the first time, and I don't even know how long.
That's perfect right there.
You know me, I'm not one to really pursue sponsorship opportunities. I will talk with these people.
You will spearhead the conversation.
Yes, yes, I will.
What a guy. What a guy. Steve's got 2 Smoldering Marshes out there. He'll draw a card now. Does he have a land that is untapped? He does. I think we're going to the skies, and we are. Attack for 2 with the Flamewake Phoenix.
Yeah, a couple lines of play available to Lynn this turn. He could have played Roast and Bloodsoaked Champion. I prefer this because, again, it doesn't matter that much giving Joe 1 loot with a Jace. It's not flipping. It's not threatening to flash back anything. And I like getting a flyer established against these decks that have Nissa, Siege Rhino, Den Protector. Just not a lot of ways to interact with flying creatures.
It's time for Lossett to draw and discard here with Jace. So we'll see what's going to go to the graveyard here. Windswept Heath down. Polluted Delta the land here for Joe. And he'll sacrifice that, falling down to 16. And now it's going to be a morph, which we get to see Den Protector.
Only morph in the deck.
Lynn will draw. I like his start so far. Joe's deck is pretty weak in the skies. Kolagon the draw there. That's actually a pretty good one. Got something to work his way towards.
I think he might be a little tight on mana right now.
Well, if one Flamewake Phoenix is good, a second one's probably better. Shrug his shoulders, play some flyers, give the beatdowns. Reminds me a little bit of Chandra's Phoenix here.
Essentially the same card thus far.
Yeah. That card gave me a lot of headaches over the days. Super good card. For Lossett, we got to see how he can contend with flyers now. One thing about Steve's deck, though, not a lot of great ways to actually bring back the Flamewake Phoenix. It can happen, but
yeah, you have Thunderbreak Raging and Kolagon, but it's not really part of the deck's plan.
You know, if things are going great, Hangerback Walker.
If it was just 2/2 Flying Haste for RR1, the deck would play it the same way.
Yeah.
The other text on it is incidental.
Complete Disregard's going to take care of 1 Phoenix. Now Jace is going to draw and discard, which means 5th card going to the graveyard, Telepath Unbound on the way, and then Flamewake Phoenix going to be knocked down a peg.
And Joe with just a whole lot of removal left over and a complete disregard in his graveyards. Going really well so far. Lynn did not have anything to do on turns 1 and 2. And then once we start getting to turns 3, turn 4, turn 5, Lossett's deck's a lot more powerful.
So there's a Telepath Unbound. Starts on 5, going to go up to 6. And there's a land for Joe and Polluted Delta. And now here comes Den Protector. A little attack for 2 in its morph form. Now we go back to Steve Lynn, who will draw a card. That's a roast. We had a feeling he would have to leave some number of those in.
Yeah, well, Siege Rhino's in the opponent's deck. You probably can't cut all of them.
The tough thing is, you want to kind of leave in Self-Inflicted Wound first, but Bros does a nice job against Rhino and Jace.
Yeah.
So it can't just be Self-Inflicted Wound. So now you're actually being pulled in a couple different directions.
Yeah,
there.
you kind of want 2 or 3 of a lot of different removal spells, not 4 of any one individual one.
Bros going to go after the morph. Like we said, we know it's a Den Protector, so that's down. The follow-up here is going to be a Bloodsoaked Champion for Lynn. And now he'll just pass the turn back over to Lossett.
Yeah, and Lynn needs to get a second creature into play here to start threatening the Jace.
Flamewake Phoenix feeling a little frisky. It's got to attack.
Must attack, even with 0 power.
And now I think we might see Joe sacrifice Delta. So down to 11 he's going to go. We'll see what land he wants to search up. He's got 2 basics, so Battle Land is an option. going to go with a Smoldering Marsh here. Wooded Foothills, the draw. He'll sacrifice that. See what land Joe wants to search up. This is always the difficult part. Not only with this deck, just a lot of decks in this format.
Yes.
What land do you
all
find?
the 4 or 5 color decks, I mean, it is not trivial trying to figure out how to assemble your mana. It's not all City of Brasses and Undiscovered Paradises and Gemstone Mines. The order of all this stuff matters quite a bit.
The other thing I really find compelling, too, is we talked to a lot of these players. Talked to Joe, Jerry Thompson, a bunch of players that play 4 or 5 color decks. And they'll even be honest and say, you know, I just search for the wrong land a lot.
Yeah.
I just get it wrong because it's so hard. Joe going to go through that graveyard, see what he's working with Jace.
Joe right now can Treasure Cruise for a mana, plus the Jace, and leave up Utter End mana. Pass the turn back to Lynn. Lynn can't do a whole lot on his turn. Respond to something good resolves with the Utter End. Joe's just in great shape right now.
You know, it feels like a very long time since I've seen this card resolve,
Yeah.
since it's long gone in Modern and Legacy.
So for Lossett's deck, because he's 5 colors, getting double blue is probably too much of a challenge.
Yeah.
So he wants to have Treasure Cruise in the deck instead because it's single blue instead of double blue.
And I also think this is the kind of deck here where, sure, he's 5 colors, so why don't I just play copies of Painful Truth in the main deck? Well, you pay costs by doing that in different ways. I mean, he's a pretty slow deck. I don't think on turn 3 he wants to pay 3 life to draw 3 cards when he's getting beaten down.
And Curse is part of his formula of getting to 2 spells in 1 turn.
Yep.
Murderous Cuck can play a similar role too, of just trade off, turn 5 rolls around, all right, draw 3 and play a Siege Rhino, or something like that. So it's a big part of him pulling ahead, and Painful Truth does not necessarily facilitate the same thing.
To Steve Lynn, we're going to go Lossett with all that mana available for Utter End, among other things. Remember, Jace did tick up. And now, it's time to Utter End the Phoenix. There's Drana. And now we're going to Lossett. He'll draw.
And you can see sort of the dispirited passing of the turn back there to Lossett, casting the Drana into the face of the Jace, which can plus and suppress it, or flashback Utter End and kill it that way. But nothing else in Lynn's hand's castable, so there you go.
Yeah, Steve has gotten to the stage now where he just needs to find a couple of lands. Kolagon, I think, is the way for him to steal this game because it's definitely slipping away from him now.
Yeah. Well, Lossett's up 1,000,000 cards. I mean, there's no way for Lynn to really win on that front. He can hope that Lossett just might not happen to have an answer to one of his dragons, and that could be a way to win, but the game's not looking great right now.
There's Jace. Now we're going to go back over to Steve. Still can't find land number 4. Hangerback Walker is not a horrible constellation. Oh, yeah. Get in there. It wasn't targeted by Jace last turn.
Yep.
Lossett minused. And now Jace will go down to 2. Here's Hangerback Walker. Now pass that turn back. Over to Lossett. Joe in a pretty good position right now, just trying to further solidify things, find a way to actually close the game out.
Close the game out and not expose himself to any needless risk.
Yes.
That's the other part of this, too.
He did draw a copy of Bring to Light this turn.
You know, it's easy to say, okay, well, why don't you just Bring to Light for a Siege Rhino? Okay, well, if Lynn untaps and plays a self-inflicted wound, it wasn't a great use of your turn.
Yep. There's a lot of things to actually weigh into the equation here. We can't forget, too, for Joe, that Jace he's got on the battlefield now, well, it's active, and he's only got 2 cards in the graveyard, so there's actually an opportunity to loot multiple times here. So there's a lot going on. Bloodstained Mire in hand, you got to figure out what land you want to search for with that thing. And it looks like he might be thinking the most expensive spell. And on this board, a Rhino can do a lot.
Yeah, there is, again, the slight risk here of self-inflicted wound, but a fine way for Joe to advance his board this turn.
Just got to figure out how he wants to pay for it. Here we go. There's Bring to Light. Well, Rhino's the first card that he sees, and it doesn't appear that's what he wants to grab. A very powerful sorcery in Bring to Light that I've got a feeling, for whatever reason, only going to get more popular once Oath of the Gatewatch comes.
Well, it's the type of card that scales up very well as the format gets bigger. The only real bottleneck on a card like this is how good is the mana fixing. The mana fixing is clearly good enough to facilitate 5-color decks. This card gets cast on turn 5, 4, 5 pretty frequently. So definitely a card that's likely to get better with the new set.
Bloodstained Mire passed that turn back. 14-13 right now in favor of Lynn. But again, he's having some real mana issues. We'll see if he can find one this turn. The answer is yes. Bloodstained Mire. Finally. And now he's got a little bit to think about. Perhaps how he wants to use Hangerback Walker, among other things. He's also got a copy of Outpost Siege in here. Get a feeling he would board those in.
Yes.
So Mire down 13 all. He'll get a basic swamp. Like we said, it might be Outpost each time.
I don't think he's got anything else in his hand he can really cast.
Oh, perhaps cut.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Looking at the Rhino out of here. Yeah, Steve's removal configuration I actually like a lot in his deck. He's got 4 rows, 4 self-inflicted wounds, and 3 murder scuts in his main deck. It's just really hard to figure out how you're supposed to sideboard and how much you're supposed to leave in against this deck.
Yeah. You want some of it, you probably don't want all of it.
Yep. Lossett's going to sacrifice Bloodstained Mire on the upkeep. He'll fall to 12, get himself a Sunken Hollow. And then we'll see Joe take a draw step here in just a moment. Jace is going up to 4. Yes. Bloodstone Champion, -2, -0. So that thing won't become another red zone next turn, most likely. And now all Joe can do is pass the turn back. Still just a very reactive hand.
Yep. I mean, he's got a ton in the way of just card advantage here with the Jaces and ability to get back things like Bring to Light and so forth, but he can't really try to get this game over with for the time being.
He's done a nice job with his mana to leave up Bob's-on Charm. So he's good to go there in case a big threat comes, like Kolagon. Steve Lynn. Gonna play Drana. And now he'll just pass the turn back.
I think my play that turn would have been Outpost Siege.
Okay.
Because Drana just is so ineffective in the face of a flipped Jace.
This is true. pretty clean way to shut it down.
If Lynn can start hitting some land drops here, get to Kolagon, start getting to 2 spells of turn territory, that's a path to win. I don't think Drana does a whole lot here.
Well, that draw for the turn was Kolagon's command. Down to 1. Looks like flashing back Utter End. It's going to take care of Drana. Joe actually, it's going to copy a Nissa?
That counts as something proactive for this turn.
Yeah, it does. Tell you what, I can't tell you the last time I saw one of these things get cast.
Yeah, it's been a while. Well, we just don't see the same number of, more controlling Obzon builds anymore. We haven't seen any Megamorph decks on camera so far this weekend.
Yep.
And those are the 2 biggest players for Nissa.
Because this card is certainly powerful. Lossett's going to draw and discard here with Jace. Looks like he's going to discard another Jace. This means we'll see Jace, Vryn's Prodigy, excuse me. It'll flip into Telepath Unbound. Joe going to shortcut a little bit here. New one starts on 5. Play a Forest, flip this. Good clean living here.
Yeah.
Go down to 1. Make that elemental token. Jace going to tick up. Bloodsoak Champion's got -2, -0. Hey, that's it. That's my turn. Now it's your turn.
Up a million cards, got a lot of stuff in play. You have a Bloodsoak Champion, a 0/1 Bloodsoak Champion.
Correct. You can go. Oh, there's a self-inflicted wound. The elemental token is down. The Bloodsoak Champion is going to hang back. No reason to send it on in. And now Lossett with 2 active Planeswalkers sitting pretty. This is going to go up. There's Knobs on Charm.
Have we finally hit Lumbering Falls beatdown territory?
Oh, just like last game?
I think we're approaching it.
We're getting close. Now Joe's asked how many cards in hand.
Well, we're at the point where Kolagon's commanding away a 0 power Bloodsoak Champion. Might be Shock and Raise Dead, I don't know.
It could be anything. Little of this, little of that. What are you going to raise dead? Oh, Den Protector. There goes Kolagon. Even that one's not very good anymore.
Yeah.
Because of Obzon Charm. So now we're getting into pretty bad territory here for Steve. I'm not even sure what draws are good for him now.
Yeah. Usually my threshold for has a game gotten to the point of no return? Can someone stack their deck and still lose? I think we might be there.
I think you might be right. Could you Demonic Tutor for every draw step? Yep, gonna take a look at Obzon Charm real quick.
Kills dragons.
Does. Can't kill Stormbreath Dragon. That one's not in your deck. Thunderbreak Regent kills that one too.
That's dead.
Yeah.
Your dragon's dead.
Does get a little bonus.
You get a little on the way out.
Yeah. There's a Thunderbreak Regent. I guess Joe could pick one of those 3 Obzon Charms he has.
Well, if I'm Joe, the only thing that is on my mind right now is make sure that there's no, Draconic Roar or Crater's Claws kind of sequence that just kills me out of nowhere. No creature is going to matter for the rest of the game. But spells still might. I mean, Lossett's hand is just all creature removal. So it's not as straightforward as just kill the Thunderbird region. He may even want to untap here. It looks like he's going to sacrifice the Bloodstained Mire. I was going to say there is an argument there for him just simply untapping so he doesn't have to take the point off the Bloodstained Mire.
And if he does Obzon Charm now, that means Thunderbreak Regent will trigger, and then they can deal the 3 damage to Lossett and redirect to Nissa, perhaps?
Well, Lossett's thrilled if he redirects to Nissa because Lossett's got so many cards right now that he can afford to be down the Nissa. He's only worried about getting burned out.
Well, it's a redirection of Nissa, so Joe is likely pretty happy about that.
If Lynn goes, I'll deal 3 to you, Lossett has to go, okay, now I got to make some effort to get a Siege Rhino back or something, but...
Well, here's Den Protector. That's going to unmegamorph, I think, to do just that. It's a 3-2. You can see Steve, he knows he's in trouble. And it's been a tough road for him this entire game. Den Protector going to come across for 3. Lynn's going to fall down to 10. And I think in just a moment here, we're going to see him fall down to 7. Lossett going to play a Wooded Foothills. That'll be his land for the turn. Keep in mind, he hasn't even used Jace yet. So there's the Siege Rhino. And, you know, depending on what Joe's finish is this weekend, he's already 4-0-1. It looks like he's working his way towards 5-0-1. Yeah, I'm already starting to think a little bit ahead about maybe that Players' Championship.
Yeah, I mean, a good performance here, and you can lock it up.
You know, I'm thinking Miracles in Legacy, 5-color Bring to Light in Standard. Not really sure what his modern weapon of choice is.
Now that you mention it, I do not know either.
Yeah, I guess he Trons.
Okay.
He's been playing Green-Red Tron. I've gone heel on that deck. Not a big fan anymore,
right.
But because it looks like I had forgotten that Joe had been playing this deck in Standard for a little while. It looks like he's pretty comfortable here with this deck.
Yeah.
Though Joe was the tricky one last time at the Players' Championship with his switcheroo. So there's no guarantee of anything that he'll play.
Your dragon's dead.
What Patrick said. It's not even attacking. That's how dead it is. And I think, unfortunately for Steve Lynn, he's going to be dead just like his dragon. As Abzan Charm's going to take care of that, and that's going to do it. Joe Lossett's going to win this match over Steve Lynn. 2-0. A dominating performance here for number 5 on our Season 4 leaderboard. 5-color Bring to Light is now 5-0-1.
And Lynn just didn't get the explosive type of starts he needs in this matchup. You didn't see the Zergo into, you know, Bloodsoak Champion type of openings there. He was a little slow, especially in game 2. And when you give Lossett that kind of breathing space, his deck's so much more powerful that there's no real way for Lynn to come back.
Perhaps we'll see Joe Lossett in the sideboard with this deck at some point, because it's off to a great start. We're getting very close to day 2 contention here. And I honestly think, you know, you think about all the decks in this format, there's not a lot of conversation about Bring to Light. So maybe shed a little light on this deck again, because Joe's off to that great start.
Yeah,